बॉलीवुड एक्टर अर्जुन कपूर अपनी दिवंगत मां मोना शोरी कपूर के कितने करीब हैं, इसका अंदाजा तो हर किसी को है। अर्जुन अपनी मां के लिए हमेशा प्यार जाहिर करते हैं। इसी बीच एक बार फिर अपनी मां के जन्मदिन पर अर्जुन ने एक इमोशनल पोस्ट शेयर कर अपनी मां को याद किया है। प्रेयर रूम से अपनी मां की फोटो शेयर करते हुए अर्जुन ने लिखा, हैप्पी बर्थडे मॉम, मुझे आपके फोन पर आपका नाम देखने की याद आती है। मुझे आपके घर वापस आने की याद आ रही है। मुझे आपको और अंशुला की लगातार बात करते हुए देखना याद आ रहा है। मुझे आपकी याद आती है माँ। मुझे आपके नाम को बोलना याद आ रहा है। मुझे तुम्हारी खुशबू याद आ रही है। मेरा इनमेच्योर होना मिस करता हूँ और आपका मेरी हर मुसीबतों का हल निकालना। मैं अपने बचपने को मिस करता हूँ। आप हमेशा मेरी साइड रहती थी, इसलिए हर चीज मिस करता हूँ। मैं आपके बिना अधूरा हूँ। आप हमारे साथ ही हैं और मैं आशा करता हूँ कि मेरे इस वर्जन से आपको गर्व महसूस होता होगा। लव यू, आपका ईमानदार चबी चिक्स वाला बेटा। अर्जुन की गर्लफ्रेंड और अभिनेत्री मलाइका अरोड़ा सहित कई बॉलीवुड सेलेब्स ने भी इस पर अपनी प्रतिक्रिया दी है। बॉलीवुड में अर्जुन की डेब्यू फिल्म इश्कजादे की रिलीज से कुछ दिन पहले ही 2012 में अर्जुन की मां का कैंसर से निधन हो गया था।
I saw the trailer and it looks truly amazing. And what I feel about the film will come to know at the end of the interview as this interview progresses. Fair enough?
Sure.
Yes.
So we are hanging by suspense. That's
Yeah,
nice.
it's a thriller
Okay.
after all. So let's put that element in the interview as well.
Awesome.
Okay.
So Akash, I would like to start with you. A lot is happening on the cinematography front. From Snorri cam to fisheye lenses to Hitchcock zoom, and also on the editing part as well. There are jump cuts on the rack focus also, and also hip hop cuts. So what was the approach to cinematography vis-a-vis the editing of the film?
I mean, I think the larger approach, if I could just take a step back, is to create a world where this film exists. So I think everything is in respect to that. The choice that we've, the route that we've taken, which is a treatment-led route, which is an aesthetic that allows for a story like this to sort of be compellingly told, is why all of those things have been done. It's not because they are things that are available to us. It's because they are things that we have chosen to use in the film. All the devices, all the techniques that you've used are all part of that sort of deliverance of the narrative. Yeah. And I think a lot of the edit and design of the film was preconceived. We had created a lot of pre-edits with the editor and the cinematographer together. And I think the shot division and the storyboarding allowed us to sort of make sure that we knew exactly what we were going for. And when we were on set, it was all about just improvising with the performances and getting those right. And similarly on the edit, I think once we cracked the beat, once we cracked the rhythm, it was all about just making sure that the performances are at the forefront of it all.
And Taxi, taking from what Akash said, such a fluid cinematography, it certainly puts the pressure on an actor because it demands a lot from you. So how did you make your way around the cinematography in terms of your performance?
So yeah, though this was one added challenge, which is different from the usual films that you do, because you usually come on set and then you have you block your scene, how you would want to do it, and then the camera angles are figured out accordingly. But here there was such since camera was a character in itself in the film, so we had to respect its presence and its movement and then perform within those limits and see if how can we make camera a part of the scene rather than letting us dictate how the camera should be. So this was a different kind of a process, which obviously challenges you and probably brings about something new from you. And that's why the new visuals also come out. So it's always nice to kind of throw one challenge at you, which you never thought you'd done before.
And Tahir, did this cinematography make you hyper aware of your surrounding after the rolling was done? After the scene was cut, were you rendered with a sense of hyper awareness about your surroundings?
As in while I was performing, or
after the performance, once the camera gets cut or the shot gets cut?
No. Once the shot is cut, I'm out of it. But it was true that when it was around in the scene, it was the other way around of how I'm used to shooting film, in the sense that technology was determining the performance, which was interesting. Like Tapsi said, it was a challenge. And when you're challenged is when you know how comfortable you are with your craft. So it took about a day to get used to it. But then after that, you realize that was the language of the film, and that you have to adapt around it. And because there were no closed lenses that were used during the filming of this, every time there was a close-up needed, the camera physically comes close to you. So if Satya and Savi are in an intimate moment, you have the DOP in the camera there in the intimate moment with you. So a lot of times it felt like a love triangle.
And
But that's aware of the surroundings. I think as an actor, you're constantly aware of the surroundings. I mean, in a lens, you don't know in a frame ki kitna dikh raha hai. You don't know. I don't even see monitors, so I don't even know later. So I'm constantly aware, because you need to make use or keep the surroundings in your head when you're performing. Am I performing on a road or performing inside a room? How many people around watching? If this is an open space, or it's like only between me and Satya. So it's always that awareness should anyway be there.
Yeah, I would say, to like sort of rephrase your question, my answer, it would be hypersensitivity is an actor's default to their surrounding, really. And when you've got cameras around you, that is actually your natural habitat. So it doesn't really affect you in that way.
And Akash, as interesting the concept of time loop is, it also runs the risk of, acting as Deus ex machina, because the audience. I was saying that, it also runs the risk of acting as the Deus ex machina, the plot device, because the audience knows what's coming next, once the cycle is complete, once the first cycle is complete. So how did you stay away from making insipid for the audience?
I think that's the challenge, right? You want to make it interesting, not only for yourself, for the audience, but also for yourself. How would you want to see something new? And I think the characters' motivations define the filmmaking there as well. If Savi's character is experiencing something new, or does something that makes her experience something new, the perspective of the storyteller also moves with her. And in this case, all of us were aligned to that. And, Savi's character's choices defined how we went about. Obviously, you want to create like a similarity of how we frame and how we create this experience, but do something fresh every time that reminds you of what you watched, but then subverts it the next time you're going to watch it. And I think that kind of awareness allowed us to play with form a lot. But again, it's completely dictated by how Savi is moving along in the story.
And Tapsi, time loop and sprinting, these are the two things that you have explored in your earlier films as well. Sprinting with Rashmi Rocket and time loop with Game Over, which, by the way, I really loved.
Thank you.
Whenever an artist gets involved in an artwork, there are some strands that stay with the artist for a longer time. They become a part of the subconscious. So how did sprinting, or the muscle memory of sprinting from Rashmi Rocket and from what you did in Game Over, how did these come together to enhance your performance or to shape up your performance in Loop Lapita?
Unexpectedly, or not really planned in that order, but it so happened that I had to do Rashmi's running sequences, the races, and immediately after that I had to jump into Loop's running portions in Goa. So it very organically aligned itself in a way that my training for Rashmi Rocket was utilized here without injuring myself, because I was running on surfaces for Loop. I was running on roads and footpath, which could easily injure me, and then I wouldn't be as good to run for Rashmi, because that is like professional running on tracks, which is safer track, medium to run on. So hence, I'm glad that I finished those portions before I started running for Loop. And then it again was a big coincidence that the script was written in a way that where Rashmi finished, Loop began. And this is my consecutive next release, that the Loop began with an athlete's race, last race that she didn't know was last because she gets injured, and then there onwards the end of the career. So hence, I could easily seamlessly transition from there, playing an athlete, to an ex-athlete, and kind of utilize the mind space and my learnings of portraying an athlete in Rashmi, and how it will be after you retire suddenly, unexpectedly. So that kind of organically stars aligned in a way that it really helped me.
And Tahir, no, the demeanor of Satya's character is a little restless, or if I could say upbeat. यानी कुछ बेचैनी सी है उसमें, because he's running away from a certain situation. So what was your approach in terms of the body language and the voice modulation of this character?
For sure, yeah. I would call him erratic and inconsistent in his body language, purely because he's so reactive to his external circumstances. When he's meeting a girl on a rooftop and trying to be romantic, he's one guy. When he's in a gambling den, he's in another. When he's under pressure, he's another guy. So how do you adapt your body language to that? Was a great exercise. The body language that I have right now has come with sort of years of being Tahir, living certain experiences. So I had to tap into the younger version of myself in college and in school, where there was far more energy. There was far more, like, your body language was all over the place, because that's what Satya is. He's just this bundle of energy. And as far as the voice is concerned, he pitches it slightly higher than my voice, and his rhythm is a lot faster when he speaks, especially when he's under high pressure circumstances.
And Akash, I would like to know from you that in terms of the staging of the entire film, the film starts with a green or orange butterfly on the mirror, and the penultimate sequence has that particular character coming out of the Borboleta apparel. It's very interesting because Goa was once a Portuguese colony, and butterfly is known as Borboleta in Portuguese. So talk to me a little bit about the mise-en-scène and the staging of the entire film.
I think like the mise-en-scène of this film is not just for the sake of creating a look. I think everything is a character in the film. The space, the sense of decay and monotony that Savi's gotten herself into when she was thinking that this will break her life of monotony and decay. She's moved from one to another, and this sort of day offers a sense of excitement that she didn't know that she needed, right? So I mean, like, that landscape allows for us to sort of go into a very graphic novel sort of a vibe, just define it like that. Her color, his color, they're all sort of colors that come from nature, and like green is a versatile sort of a color. It can represent rawness and freshness, while it can also represent greed and decay. And I think that was the reason we chose something like that for her. The butterfly is a very interesting intrinsic part of the film. I'm not going to try and reveal it. That's why Borboleta comes in the end, because it sort of starts with something that is led by a butterfly. It ends with something that caused by a butterfly, because there are a lot of sort of Easter eggs and theories that we've sort of brought into the film for it to be an interesting analysis piece. Like if you pick on something and you're like, oh, fuck, this makes sense, and that those Easter eggs then define a lot of the making as well. Not that led the choice, but it was a lot of fun for us to drop in a lot of them in the mix. So yeah.
And Tahir, how long did it take for you to crack that particular gambling wala smile?
It took me about a week, and the challenge really was because there are so many smiles. How do you differentiate one from the other? And most importantly, how do you differentiate Satya's smile from your own smile in life? Because the danger of everyone then calling anything you do the gambling smile or the porn star smile was always there. So through your interview, I want people to know that all the smiles are inspired by Akash Bhatia.
Workshops.
Workshop.
Okay, and Tapsi, for my final question, I would like to step out from this film-specific questions and know from you that a lot of European nations are now lifting the COVID restrictions permanently, including the mandatory mask mandate. Since we live in a hyper-connected world and in times of globalization, so taking from the theme of the butterfly effect that's there in the film, what effect this would have on the OTT cinema and film trade in general? I'm asking this to you specifically because you're also now a producer with Blur.
Yeah, but I want to know, you want to know about how uplifting all these restrictions is going to affect cinema?
Yeah, the cinema, OTT, or the film trade in general, the overall medium of cinema or films.
See, if you talk about overall medium, I don't think even pandemic affected audience watching films, because they still kept watching whatever was available. The medium changed from theater to OTT. Yes, the making part of it for us becomes different when there are restrictions and when they are not, when there is virus around or when it's not. but for an audience, in terms of trade, it actually just the medium changes, but it's not like the audience don't want to watch content anymore, or like they are now too secluded from. Nobody is devoid of entertainment or the opportunities to get entertained regardless of lockdown or no lockdown. So that will not only, the mediums will keep changing, but I don't think the films can go out of lives of people, especially in India.
So that brings us to the end of this conversation. I would like to know if there's something that I may have missed asking as a question, or something that you would have loved to talk about. So please feel free.
That you said that you'd tell us how did you find the film by the end of it, so you can tell us now.
Isn't it obvious by now?
No, but thank you for noticing such minute details and
great
being
questions.
So yeah,
Please,
that
thank
is
you so much.
that's it feels so nice that someone really noticed all that went in our head that we tried to put in. Koi dekhta hai to theek hai, koi nahi dekhta hai to theek hai. We are glad that
the
you
film
noticed.
is the heart of this film. I think both the actors here and everybody would agree, man. And I think and in doing that, the fact that the makers, along with us, the guys who were going to be in front of the camera and just really close to the camera, the producers and all, everybody bought into this this kind of a film being made. And I think that's a progressive sign. And I think I'm just very excited that I got to collaborate with these two and the other players and all the technical crew, my DP, my PDs, my art, my edit, my music directors, my animators, everybody who's come on board, and that's been the real sort of delivery.
And the costume design.
Yes, the costume in So yeah, I mean,
I like how you two are still maintaining the theme of green and orange.
Arre,
Yes.
wow, you're very perceptive, Akshay. That's very nice. That's very observant.
Of course they are.
Well, like it. Never miss an update.